The moment I felt that cold splash hit my face mid-bench press, I knew Sandra Peton had finally lost it. Like, if you've ever had that feeling where you're just grinding through your morning, minding your own business, and suddenly your whole world tilts sideways for no good reason, that was it for me right there. It was 6 a.m., pitch black outside, just me and the sound of my own breath echoing in that too-bright HOA gym, and then, bam, ice-cold dollar store holy water straight to the eyes. I just about dropped the dumbbell on my foot, sitting up blinking through this blurry haze, and the first thing I see is Sandra, standing over me with her arm outstretched, holding that tiny plastic vial like she's about to cast a spell or perform a low-budget exorcism. Her rhinestone crucifix necklace sparkled in the fluorescent lights, and she was shaking so bad, the so-called sanctified liquid was dripping onto the floor right next to my protein shake. She practically screamed, her voice trembling, loud enough to rattle the windows, that I had demons in my glutes, and she wouldn't let this HOA be spiritually compromised. Yeah, that happened. And here's the kicker. All I had done was mention, in passing, that I didn't listen to Christian rock during my cardio. That's it. That was enough, apparently, to trigger a full spiritual intervention at the Maple Ridge Estates Community Fitness Center. Let me back up a sec so you get the whole picture. How a quiet, middle-aged IT guy like me ended up a target of the most unhinged HOA crusade in suburban history. So, my name's Eugene Hartley, 46, recently single, work-from-home IT consultant, generally invisible guy. I moved to Maple Ridge Estates 3 years back, specifically for the peace and privacy. I'm not a joiner. I like my grill, my birds, and my 6 a.m. gym sessions. Those precious quiet hours before sunrise, before anyone else's drama can spill over into my world. For a while, it was perfect. I had the clubhouse gym to myself most mornings, a place to clear my head, and just lift. Then along came Sandra Peton, new HOA president, part-time essential oils peddler, full-time force of self-righteous nature. She's 52, bleach blonde, always in a blindingly white tracksuit, always driving this SUV plastered with bumper stickers like, "Jesus is my HOA attorney," and "Pray first, find second." When she got elected, I figured, sure, maybe she'll keep the dog poop off the lawns and turn down the noise at night. But Sandra wasn't interested in order. She was gunning for salvation, Maple Ridge Estate style. At first, it was little stuff. The radio in the gym flipped overnight from classic hits to a non-stop worship playlist. Okay, maybe someone's just really into Chris Tomlin. Then came the signs. Modest workout attire encouraged, no secular grunting, faith over fitness banners cropping up like mushrooms after rain. One morning, I walked in and found a giant printed poster above the squat rack that said, "No joke, no satanic lunges." I asked Sandra if that was supposed to be a joke. She just hissed at me. Not metaphorically. She made this weird, actual cat hissing sound and mumbled something about demonic quad engagement. I started to think maybe she'd watched too many late-night exorcism documentaries. But Sandra was dead serious. She started leaving Bibles open on each treadmill, always marked to some verse about bodies being temples. Then she had this painting installed, a huge, muscular Jesus spotting a guy doing squats. It was supposed to be inspirational, I guess, but mostly it just felt awkward. You could see the outlines of Jesus's abs through the robes. Like, the artist really went for it. Pretty soon, Sandra's focus turned laser sharp on me. She claimed I was the reason the elliptical kept breaking. When I asked how, she said my spiritual energy was disrupting the machinery. I laughed, but she didn't crack a smile. Turns out, over a weekend when no one was around, Sandra had blessed every piece of equipment with essential oils and holy water. Now she'd appointed herself spiritual custodian, patrolling the gym, muttering prayers as she wiped down benches I'd just used. The real surveillance started after that. She'd show up just as I started my warm-up, pretending to clean, but really recording me on her phone, mumbling under her breath. Every time I used a machine, she'd sneak over and sprinkle a little more holy water on it. She called it spiritual sanitization, claimed it was an official HOA policy, though nobody else on the board had a clue what she was talking about. I caught her filming me one morning, ring light set up and everything, reciting Leviticus at the top of her lungs while I just tried to do some rowing. When I asked her to stop, she offered to pray the CrossFit into me. I passed on that. She stormed out shouting, You'll regret rejecting the Lord's Gains program, GNZ. I wish I was making that up. I figured she'd get bored eventually. But no, Sandra was only warming up. That afternoon, I got a certified letter from the HOA, accusing me of spiritual disturbance and refusing to join group prayers before workouts. I thought it had to be a prank. The next morning, a county inspector named Jerome showed up at my door. Sandra had reported me for structural pagan stretches that were damaging the foundation. The poor guy looked so tired. He asked me to demonstrate my destructive stretches. I showed him a hamstring stretch. Jerome, who, as it turns out, is Wiccan, was not impressed. He actually took offense to Sandra's whole routine and filed a report suggesting the HOA be investigated for discrimination. That was the first crack. I realized Sandra's holy war might actually have consequences. So, I called up a lawyer, Rebecca Morrison, absolute legend. When I showed her Sandra's letters and screenshots of her Facebook posts, Rebecca just about died laughing. Turns out, you can't mandate prayer circles or hang religious signs in a shared gym. That's, like, discrimination law 101. Even better, Sandra had posted a video of me deadlifting on Facebook, captioned, "This man needs an intervention," with her in the background screaming, "Get behind me, barbell." That, Rebecca said, was textbook harassment. Rebecca sent the HOA a letter spelling out all the potential lawsuits, and suddenly, the rest of the board started waking up. The gym's Jesus painting disappeared overnight. The Bible treadmill library vanished. Board members started ducking out of Sandra's meetings. No one wanted to touch her baptismal font water fountain proposal. But Sandra wasn't backing down. She started showing up at my workouts with weirder and weirder props. A cardboard cutout of Saint Sebastian, incense that set off the smoke alarms, a stack of Paradise Fitness, faith declarations she demanded everyone sign before entering. She tried to hire a chaplain to spot people during weight training. Then came the Muscles for Ministry event, an all-day prayer and fitness marathon that Sandra set up without board approval, inviting her entire church congregation to bless the gym. Actual residents were told they couldn't use the gym unless they accepted Jesus as their personal trainer. The police got called 3 times. It was chaos. That was the last straw for most folks. An emergency HOA meeting was called. The whole neighborhood turned up, clubhouse packed, standing room only. Sandra rolled in wearing a white pantsuit, looking like a cross between a faith healer and a televangelist, and wheeled in an honest-to-God baptismal font right up to the podium. Her PowerPoint, titled Salvation Through Sweat Equity, laid out her new vision: prayer before cardio, scripture readings during spin class, communion shots at the juice bar. She even had plans drawn up for a confession booth next to the changing rooms. I kid you not. When it was my turn, I didn't say a word. I just played the security footage from that Tuesday morning. Sandra dousing me in holy water mid-bench press, shrieking about my glutes being demonically possessed. The room went dead silent except for a few stifled laughs. Then I played Rebecca's compilation, Sandra's social posts accusing me of being the servant of the treadmill devil, the video of her performing a mock exorcism on the leg press machine, my personal favorite, a rant about how yoga pants were a gateway to eternal damnation. The county rep who'd been invited to observe just shook his head and said flat out, "This is assault with a condiment, plus multiple federal housing violations." The board voted, unanimously, to remove Sandra as president, effective immediately. She tried to protest, shouting that no one could fire someone doing the Lord's work, but the votes were in. Right as the meeting ended, 2 sheriff's deputies walked in. Turns out, the county had pressed charges for harassment and disturbing the peace. Sandra's resignation was read over speakerphone from the back of a sheriff's car as she was driven away, screaming for someone to call God's manager. She ended up with 100 hours of community service, a $5,000 fine, and a court-ordered sensitivity class called Faith and the Fair Housing Act, which she failed 3 times before finally passing. And just like that, things in Maple Ridge Estates started to feel a little bit more normal. The gym went back to regular hours. No more prayer circles, no more spiritual audits of the dumbbell rack. Every now and then I think about Sandra. Wonder if she ever realized what really happened, or if she still believes she was saving us from gym demons 1 squat at a time. Maybe that's the real punchline, right? That no matter how peaceful a place seems, There's always someone waiting to turn it into their own private crusade. Or maybe, just maybe, that's what keeps places like Maple Ridge interesting, if not a little unhinged. So what do you think? Was Sandra a misguided zealot, or just someone who took her faith and her HOA presidency a little too far? Let me know down in the comments. Where's the line between personal belief and public space? What would you have done if you'd been in my shoes? Or, more importantly, on my bench? Drop your thoughts, share your stories, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales of suburban madness. Because out here, you never know what's coming next.